On January 15, 1947, a local mother walked her child down Norton Avenue in Los Angeles' Leimert Park when she spotted something pale resting in the weeds of an empty lot. The object was so stark white that she initially assumed it was a discarded store mannequin. Upon moving closer, she realized it was a human body, completely drained of blood. The victim was 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, a Massachusetts native who had moved to California with the same Hollywood aspirations as thousands of other young women in the post-war era. Newspapers would soon bestow upon her the nickname the Black Dahlia, cementing her as the subject of the city's most infamous cold case. The collision between the brutality of the crime scene and Short's Hollywood dreams began to weave her story into the city's darker folklore. Investigators were immediately struck by the condition of the lot. Despite the severe mutilation of the body, there was no blood in the grass, proving the murder had occurred in a different, more secure location. The body was scrubbed clean, posed with hands overhead, and her mouth was slashed, a 3-inch permanent disfigurement. The central, horrifying anomaly was the bisection. The body had been surgically cut in half at the waist. Forensic examiners noted that the cut was made between the second and third lumbar vertebrae, a specific technique called a hemicorporectomy that was part of medical school curricula in the 1930s. This anatomical precision suggested a killer who operated with the clinical detachment of a surgeon, moving with an organization that terrified early investigators. In the late 1940s, Los Angeles was a booming, restless city where young transients often moved between boarding houses and temporary jobs, and easily disappearing into the urban sprawl. Short's final confirmed movements were recorded on the evening of January 9th, when she was dropped off in downtown Los Angeles by a salesman named Robert Manley. Manley left her at the Biltmore Hotel at approximately 6:30 p.m. She was seen using the lobby telephones and eventually walked out the Olive Street exit alone. What followed was a 6-day void. Detectives could find no verifiable account of her whereabouts between that night and the discovery of her body. Accounting for these days is essential to the investigation, as they represent the window where the killer held her captive in a private space for the purpose of torture. Identification happened quickly. The examiner suggested using an early fax machine called a sound photo to transmit her prints to the FBI in Washington, D.C. The press response was immediate and ruthless. Reporters called Short's mother, pretending her daughter had won a beauty contest, just to secure background information before revealing the murder. The sensational headlines eventually drew a gloating response from the murderer himself. On January 24th, the Los Angeles Examiner received a manila envelope containing Short's birth certificate, photographs, and an address book. Chillingly, the items inside had been cleaned with gasoline to remove any trace of fingerprints, matching the technique the killer used to wash the body. By feeding evidence directly to the press, the killer ensured the investigation remained a public spectacle, forcing the police to chase leads in the national spotlight. The LAPD manhunt was massive, involving hundreds of officers who scrutinized more than 150 unique suspects. Robert Manley was quickly cleared. Nightclub owner Mark Hansen was scrutinized but eventually eliminated. Bellhop Leslie Dillon was targeted in a disastrous rogue investigation. One of the most enduring figures in the case was Dr. George Hodel, a physician with the specific surgical background necessary to perform a hemicorporectomy. Although Hodel was placed under intense police surveillance and later publicly accused by his own son, the official 1940s investigation formally cleared him of the crime. The case suffered from an overwhelming barrage of false confessions and circumstantial leads that effectively buried the truth under a mountain of noise. Despite decades of scrutiny, the killer successfully exhausted the city's resources and avoided capture until the case officially went cold. The facts we do know paint a portrait of a specific type of predator, someone with a secure, private location where the victim could be held for 5 days undetected. It required someone with formal anatomical skills and the calculated confidence to taunt the authorities and manipulate the press. The Black Dahlia nickname often masks the reality of the victim. Elizabeth Short was a struggling 22-year-old whose tragic end was essentially co-opted by Hollywood legend. Was the killer a member of the medical elite, a passing transient, or someone the investigation never even noticed? But for now, the final answer remains hidden in the archives of Los Angeles history. Let us know your theories in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most compelling cold cases.